Greetings, fellow kids. Yeah, welcome back. It's been a little while. I was gonna stream last week, but then things, and then turns out more people could make it than I thought, so that's great. Yeah, so welcome back to the 14th inaugural episode of the Draw and Law live stream, where I take suggestions for drawing stuff while I talk about things that people might want to know a bit more detail about all the comics that I'm doing. So, just to get back into the swing of things, I usually do a little picture up here. But yeah, G and I have been watching a lot of One Piece, and so a lot of One Piece. So we're pretty deep into it at this point. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen all of it, you kind of it's a bit of an investment, but there's nothing really quite like watching 1,000 episodes of something for making you feel like you're actually with some fictional weird blob people, and just having sometimes a good time, mostly a long time. And well, when we had D&D the other night, a friend of mine said, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna watch a cut down version where they sort of shorten everything and make a 20 episode fight go for one episode." I'm like, that's not right. You're not really even experiencing unless you need to invest at least half your real life. Otherwise, you don't deserve to watch it. Anyway, yeah, welcome everybody, and we'll see how we're going. So, what? Let's see how we're in the chat. Okay, I think yeah, someone had to go get a pizza anyway, so might be a little bit late. Oh right, no, that's 800 episodes. No, put your glasses on, G. Oh, let me write actually properly. There, now it's a weird hourglass number of episodes, and oh, that makes sense as well, since nothing nothing shows you the mortality of your limited existence than realizing how much of an anime you've watched. G'day, Mordak, g'day, Thwack. And yeah, I guess we'll get started. So, yeah. So I've got a fair few questions from the Discord and a fair few drawing suggestions on Patreon and the Discord as well. But I actually thought that um, Thwack's suggestion's pretty good. So I might actually just start with that as a bit of a warm up, which is um, drawing drawing the impression I get from usernames. So yeah, I might just do that real quick, just cause I thought it'd be funny. But yeah, if you don't want me to do that for your username, that's fine, because yeah, I might have some ideas of what comes to mind like in the split second that I first read it. That may not be something that you would want. But anyway, yeah. So let me know if you don't want me to do that. Otherwise, I might just do that as a little quick warm up while I get into the first couple of questions. Oh, I guess before we start, everything working okay? Sound working all right? All that. I have 200 plus, oh, sorry, 20 plus questions to answer. Sorry. Numbers to me come in lots of 100 after watching One Piece. So the idea of something being only 20 is kind of a foreign concept at this point. What is it? Oh, yeah, 20 plus questions to answer. Oh, good. All right. So let me just go to get a question. What? All right. That is not the one I want. Ah, there it is. All right. Questions. Okay, let me just start up at the bit. Oh my goodness. Oh no, they're the ones that have been answered. Okay, that's good. All right. So, first of all, is it possible for flared humans to have ascended, evolved to a higher plane of existence? Let me bring up a new layer here. All right. So I guess I'll start off with that, and also the first of kind of the username thingamajigs. Have they? Well, um, kind of like the idea of like a higher plane of existence in this world doesn't really kind of track, because there isn't like there's not really any kind of spiritual spiritualism to the world. Like there's no real like, I don't know. I guess that doesn't necessarily mean like a heaven or a hell or like a becoming a like pure energy or whatever. But I mean, it's possible. Like if they sort of unlocked all the kind of the laws of physics and how everything works in the universe and were able to like use that, which they didn't like quite do that. Like they got a lot of the way, but it's not like um in some of my other comics there'll be like a race that has, complete control over the universe and everything like that. But in this particular story they don't really. So if they did, can you please go and there we go. Yeah, so probably not, because when they kind of all went into the final version, which was, for anyone I guess who didn't know, kind of like this big artificial reality when humans got bored of how they could basically do whatever they liked in the universe and had sort of solved most of the problems and things like that. And they went into this big like simulator reality where the kind of evolved brains could invent their own fun basically. So that was kind of ascending in a way, sort of becoming part of like the digital space, and their minds are kind of downloaded into this thing. So I guess scientifically that's sort of how that works. Um, but yeah, I guess while I'm doing this, we'll see if you can like figure out whose username this might be that I'm attempting to. Like the thing that comes to my mind first of all when I see their name there. Yeah, so the humans haven't really ascended because the adverse human's the one who couldn't use the neural flare, the device that kind of like downloads all the sum of all knowledge into their brains. They wouldn't have done so because they're all kind of still about the same, and those are pretty much the only humans that we know about that are left, kind of in the world. The ones that are sort of floating around in space in like their relativistic spaceships, and like nearly at the speed of light, and kind of going around doing that. They never really like ascended to the the same sort of plane that all the other humans did, and they didn't actually ascend so much as they just like went into a big computer game and then stayed in there. It's I guess it's possible that like some groups sort of did, and certainly there's the precedent that there is like another dimension that is made of pure energy that all the people who can use the soul tech kind of draw from, and it's pretty clear that in that dimension there's like a reflection of you. So it's possible, like, I guess I won't say anything at the moment just in case it comes up later, but it is, at the moment, there's nothing to suggest that this happened, but it could be the case that, yeah, like where you project like the big sort of soul version of yourself into the real world, which is what the mechs are. They kind of just put armor on top of that. You could just become that, I guess. So that's in a way ascending to like a big kind of energy. But at the moment, that's not really something that's possible in the way that we can think of it, because you still need both. You still need like the reality of your actual physical brain to be kind of producing the sort of the electrical signals and the stored memories that make up what you are. So if you did sort of ascend to being like a pure energy, like in the way it works at the moment, you wouldn't really have your personality or anything left anymore. You can still kind of need a physical version of yourself. But certainly there could be a way that would happen. By the way, let's see. Yeah, so that's okay. One of 20 plus done. So I'll sort of stay in the question bit, which means I can't see the chat for a sec. But if you haven't a guess, this is Thwack 19, because in my mind this is the COVID-19 virus, and they're thwacking it like a tennis player. And this is a completely full-size tennis court, or no, it's either a very tiny tennis court or a very large tennis player. Which I don't know. It's up to you. It's fine. Yeah. So there's that. What's the next one here? Mm-hmm. Um, where do bats live in the world? Bats live. Let me just get a couple here. Yeah, I'll do where do bats live. I'll jump back into the chat real quick. Where was that? So many dang. Here we go. Sound went dead for about a minute. Ooh. If you're talking, I can't hear you. That's weird. Um, hmm. So far, it's me. Yes, it is indeed a solid thwack. Um, um, Yeah, the sound going dead's a little weird. Okay, so it's still here. Weird issue. Yeah, hate those are the weirdest kind of issue. YouTube muted itself. Okay, there we go. Cool. Um, I don't know, ghosts. And humans uploading themselves into computer, and now they are living the reboot life in cyberspace. Yeah, basically. I was gonna say the reboot of reboot, but that already happened and failed real bad apparently. Because the guy who made the Code Lyoko show and that didn't do so well, then got the chance to write the reboot, and then he just made Code Lyoko again with the reboot franchise. It ended up being kind of different, more set in the real world, and people didn't really like it. Not that I watched it. Not that I watch anything but One Piece anymore. So, okay. I'm not seeing anyone not wanting me to do the username thing, so I'm just going to do it. Um, and then answer the back question. So there's that one. Turn this off. Get a new one in here. um, all right. Let's see who's next on the old chopping block. Um, I mean, I guess some of them are going to be like pretty obvious, but yeah, okay, we'll go one. Let me see. Again, if I even start this one, it's gonna be really obvious what it is. Well, I'll probably peek the mic just there for a second. Okay. Where do bats live? Okay, so yeah, we've sort of established that bats do exist. Um, and yeah, because they sort of are close enough to the sort of animals that would kind of be able to evolve. And even though they haven't really got like hands, they probably would have been enlisted by the the rats to kind of do the things before the rats sort of got any sort of level of technology. They did it. The rats evolved really fast, and even when they were kind of like at a Stone Age sort of thing, they were still um, still kind of enslaving other races and doing that sort of thing. So bats would have been like a very useful kind of animal to have because of their kind of flying capabilities. So their evolution would have been hastened by the the rats. So they, because of that, and because of the particular skill that the rats would have wanted them for, they probably would have been like pretty widespread throughout the northern hemisphere. Like there's bats everywhere, but because the twilight shroud kind of makes everything a bit dark, and bats, I guess, stereotypically kind of do like a little bit of darkness, or so I've heard. They probably would have gravitated towards the northern hemisphere, like by being brought there by the rats, and also just because of what they kind of were all about in terms of their, the way they like to hunt and live and all that sort of stuff. So they probably would have been pretty spread out through the entire northern hemisphere, and they probably still existed in the southern hemisphere, but not to the same kind of levels. Yeah, so I guess the answer to that one is everywhere. Everywhere they want. So yeah, because the kind of the spread of the, at least sort of before Shoal came along, most things would have been pretty evenly spread out, with rats sort of in control of everything, and almost the other races sort of everywhere. But yeah, they'd probably just live anywhere. I mean, bats can already pretty much do that. So okay, so one more. Let me just get another question. Too many tabs. Um, would lab rats be open to the idea of having other psionic powers like pyrokinesis and telekinesis, or would they freak out? Did the experiments on lab rats' ancestors involve other psychic tests besides mind reading? Oh, yeah, okay. Well, those sort of go hand in hand. So um, I'll go do both of those at once. So, yeah, I guess for anyone who wasn't sure, the the lab rats in this universe have mind reading powers, which were the result of like human experiments into mind reading and stuff. And as far as we know, that's all they were doing, because the lab rats in the story haven't really demonstrated an ability to do anything like besides that. And the way the mind reading works, which I'll mention because it's sort of relevant to answering the question, the way mind reading works is that what they do is they take sound waves or the electrical signals from people's brains. Like when you think, like the synapses fire in your brain and that creates an electrical signal. So they can basically detect that electrical signal just like um, people can detect like light waves sort of hitting the eye or sound waves hitting the ear, converting that into sort of electrical signals in the brain. So they kind of take the electrical signals from other people's brains, which sort of gets transmitted from them. Normally you can't detect it, but when it hits a lab rat's ear, they've got like enhanced sort of organs that let them be able to interpret that in back into electrical signals of what that original thought was. So they can read your mind in that way. So it's not like magic or anything. It's just like a kind of a weird science. And so in terms of like whether the the rats would have any other powers, they certainly could, but it would need to have like a grounding in reality, oops, as well. So I guess yeah, I've done a few commissions recently for yeah, like lab rats that have got other powers besides just being able to read minds. And yeah, so I guess we go through a few of them. How would they work? So we've sort of seen that in the universe, like anti-gravity and gravity manipulation is a thing that you can do. And it's sort of a science that hasn't really been explained very well in the comic because it doesn't really need to be. But yeah, basically, I guess like gravitons or like just doing whatever, like huge amounts of pressure being applied to do that. And because energy isn't really a problem in this universe generally, or it is in the current comic, but before that, energy was basically unlimited. So they could use anti gravity because it's very power intensive, but they um, yeah, it doesn't really matter because they had unlimited power. So yeah, Labradorite could possibly, there possibly was experiments being made into having someone being able to innately use anti-gravity power just by using their mind, but they'd need like an external power source for that. So it'd probably be more like they can control gravity with their mind, but the power to do it is coming from some sort of external power source, which would still work with like I guess the commissions because they've always got power suits. So either just an internal power source or being linked to some like energy source through some other way, being able to do that. So that's definitely possible. Pyrokinesis, I don't know, probably not. I don't know how you would produce a fire scientifically that isn't just a flamethrower. So yeah, probably moving stuff around could and like using fire-based weapons could be linked to the brain, but not really directly just completely being able to do it without any kind of additional item. The mind reading's easy because it doesn't take a lot of power to convert electrical signals like that. Okay, so this, in case you're wondering, SC pilot. I was just like, SC science pilot. So here we have a science pilot. That's that one. So I'll do another one in here and see what we got. So another question. Um, oh, let's play an unpleasant noise. So yeah, I guess long story short, the experiments probably did involve other psychic tests because it'd be weird to just do mind reading and nothing else. And it's definitely possible that they have some limited ability to do that, either assisted by technology or not. Why did humans choose lab rats for the psychic experiments? Same reason they used lab rats for all the other experiments, I guess. Are there any natural predators that can still kill, say, mice and rats, like birds and snakes? Okay, I'll get into that in a second. Let's go just back into chat for a second. Um, oh no, the face cam was blocking the COVID ball. Damn it. That was the second time I've done this. Oh, the second time I've done this in this in this stream. I've got to just move the camera. I wonder if I can do that real quick. Let's see. I have to go into here. All right. No. Whoop. Yeah, that's probably better. So um yeah, I'll go back to it and okay, let's just so yeah, there it is. I guess that was being blocked up by the camera. Anyway, if there's anyone who doesn't want to do an impression, let him know. Yeah. Yeah, the new reboot felt like a Code Lyoko knockoff, but I was referring to the original show run. Oh, yeah, it was good. I liked it in like 1995, whenever it came out. What can I do for the battle? Lemus shall be defended if I go to Polonaise combat. Yeah. So would there be a Batman for the Bat race, or what would Batman be? Well, there's a man bat, I guess, in the Batman lore. So I don't know. So lab rats wouldn't have telekinesis in this universe. They could do, if yeah, as I said, if they had like they could probably do the gravity manipulation stuff with their mind, but then the power for it would have to come from somewhere else, kind of like Pyro, I guess, in the X-Men. Where that? Yeah, would Batman? Would they have a Batman? Because Batman would just be like Man if it was a human. Um, Could a repulsor anti-grav unit be repurposed as a shield type defense? Okay, there's a few questions here. Right. Getting lost in the weeds here. All right, so we'll go back, turn all this off. I'll do one more, and then I'll get into some other questions, some other drawing prompts from elsewhere. So, natural predators. I'm gonna think. All right. Thinking exactly how I was going to draw this, but I think I've got it. To pull up a little ref real quick. All right. This is gonna be a weird one. Just so you know, and this is the one that's the most stupid. So don't like read anything into this at all. So yeah, this is another user name. The thing that immediately came to mind upon seeing it, I guess. Are there predators in the round? So yeah, as was like said sort of before in sort of the comic and just like other questions and stuff. Um, the when the rats kind of like evolved as sort of the first race that didn't really have any. Once they kind of got the technology to take on the bigger creatures that would typically like wipe them out or kill them because of their numbers and their kind of more advanced state because they evolved faster. They do they did sort of wipe out most of the creatures that traditionally would prey on them. So that's why cats are pretty much gone. Most creatures like that, especially like household ones that would have been a threat to them, definitely would be nearly all gone. But like, it's very difficult to wipe out like an entire species. Like, even if they like really tried to, with the sort of level of technology they had at the time before they kind of got out of their Stone Age kind of thing, where they'd probably start to like enslave things more than just kill them. So yeah, originally it would have been like humans killing mastodons and like saber-toothed tigers and things like that for food. But that would have like kind of stopped eventually. Just like people sort of stopped wiping things out completely, or sort of. Maybe there was a period in which they didn't do it as much. We sort of do it again now, but so the rats would have had that as well, where they didn't have really the capacity to completely wipe stuff out, but the things that usually would have preyed on them would now be like very scarce and in hiding, and eventually figure out that they don't want to get involved with rats very much. So things like wolves have been seen in the comic. They were being sort of kept as pets by Emperor Shawl and in the early pages as sort of like a status symbol. And there's been seen like large birds, especially in the southern hemisphere where the rats weren't really that active. So there's sort of big emus. You've seen like a whole bunch of stuff like that. So yeah, there would definitely be like most of the creatures that existed still do exist. It's just not very much. In the northern hemisphere, probably not so. It'd like be incredibly rare, and only really in the places where the shroud, unless they're being kept as a pet, only in places where the shroud is not there, because everywhere that's under the shroud is now like kind of three levels deep of like the rat equipment and buildings and things like that. So yeah, there's no really place for them to hide. But in like the really far sort of northern reaches, so things like polar bears and stuff like that. But yeah, snakes, birds, stuff like that would exist, but more in the southern hemisphere probably, which is where you'd find them. They would have, if they could, find a way to kind of like migrate down. So like, oh, there'd be a lot of birds of prey down in the southern hemisphere that traditionally would have been in the northern hemisphere. But yeah, in the northern hemisphere, they're pretty much not there anymore. And most of the big predators in the northern hemisphere would have been wiped out, except to be used as pets. So that's pretty much it. But yeah, there'd be like a lot of Australian snakes, a lot of big birds of prey down there. We haven't really in Australia got many big like kind of carnivorous animals that aren't birds. Of course, we sort of wiped them out mostly. The Tasmanian tigers and Tasmanian devils aren't really that big or that dangerous, really, but they'd sort of still be around. Anyway, this is a weird one, but I had to draw because it's what I thought of. This is Mordak. This is Modoc. I just got the simile of the name, and Mordak to me, of course, I like orcs. If you know much about the 40k universe, they like some more Daka, just like more guns, more shooty guns. So yeah, it's just Modoc with more Daka, so more guns. Yeah. So that's that. I think that's probably, let's see, that's probably everyone in the chat, but oh no, not quite. Although I mean, yeah. Uh, yeah, yeah. So like it could have. So get back to what Folk was saying. Thought it was Commander Wolf. Yeah, it could have been, but Megabyte and Bob Battle Bands episode was absolute fire. Okay, I don't really remember. Like I think Reboot was on, and I wasn't like super paying attention to it. Bat Rat. Jorasol. Oh, okay, Zitali. I guess. Oh, who knows which one I'm going to do? There's still a few. So let's see. Turn this off. Turn this back on. Um. Hmm. I mean, dang it. The other ones are going to be like pretty obvious, but I guess it doesn't need to be like a guessing game. But like, um, hmm. Gee, I wonder who this is. Um, let's see. Question. Yeah, I'll go through the Patreon. Sorry, the Discord questions first because they were there first. Do animals have weddings or something similar? Or do they just say, "Okay, we're mates now, y'all"? Mm-hmm. Do they? Do they indeed? Um, sort of. Not really. So, like the for the longest time, before kind of people like Emperor Shaw got flared and Amethyst came along with their interest in human culture was like completely lost. The lemurs, who were like the only race that really had any kind of connection to humanity, they weren't there. So yeah, sort of an easy to miss thing in the original comic was that the lemur species only came into being. Well, they were in stasis because they couldn't use the neural flares, or they could, but they when they did, they didn't really get onto the same level that the other primates did because they were still pretty primitive at that point. But yeah, so they got sort of locked in stasis, and they were only brought back kind of by accident when Emperor Shaw diverted the Twilight Shroud power from its original purpose, which was keeping the primates alive. He'd gone into their own little final version video game world and was sort of still kept alive by it. But Shaw like rerouted it for his other purposes. And at the same time, yeah, one besides keeping the primates alive in the Twilight Shroud pylons, it was also keeping Madagascar hidden and the lemurs in stasis. And as soon as that went away, the lemurs came out of stasis, and it was pretty obvious that after that point that the lemurs are very sort of based on humanity, or just like weird mishmash of what was left behind of human culture over sort of various years, which kind of I guess problematically in the comic is sort of it kind of looks a bit like I'm trying to write like a particular type of, I guess, people or whatever, but that's not the case. It's supposed to just be like a weird mashup of just human nonsense that was kind of accidentally brought into their culture that it was sort of like based on. But yeah, not really like that. So anyway, the point is they weren't around for most of the time. Humanity was completely gone, and like even at the start of the the comic, the humans were basically like a myth, and basically no one believed that they existed. So they had no real influence on how the animals developed, except for the things they left behind in the kind of bunkers of weapons. And the only things left behind in those bunkers was stuff about how to make weapons, how to do all that sort of business. So there wouldn't really have been anything about marriage and things in there. So that as the animals evolved, they kind of kept a lot of the I guess the way their species would traditionally pair up or be like a communal thing or whatever. They would have kept that. So yeah, they didn't really have marriage as such, but like certain races that would kind of pair for life, like certain like a lot of type of, well, birds didn't really evolve so much, but like as an example, say like pigeons or albatrosses or something that sort of like pair for life, they'd have something like marriage. Probably wouldn't be called that exactly, but yeah, they would have something like it. But sort of the races like yeah, rats sort of wouldn't because of their sort of communal nature and the way they kind of like they don't really get together like that. They sort of just do their own thing. So they wouldn't really have any sort of marriage or anything. Certain other species that sort of do sort of pair up probably would have had something like it, although again, yeah, they wouldn't have called it marriage. But probably by this point, now that Amethyst is sort of big into human stuff and it's a lot more known now, and like the humans, even though they're kind of keeping to themselves and not really, except for a couple of exceptions, not really going out into the world and like purposefully they're sort of doing the prime directive and trying not to influence the other races very much. They even then like the ideas of concepts of marriage and things probably have gotten out there. So it's certainly like maybe like a fad at the moment where people or animals are doing it. and it is pretty common for like a parent group to kind of pair up and raise their kids now. But yeah, marriage as a concept would have been lost for 50,000 years and only now being introduced in the way that we would know it. Um, what happened to wolves in the setting outside of the two we saw with Emperor Shawl in the first run? Not much is known of their continued existence, if at all. It would be interesting to see if some of the wolves survived and went full on dwarf mode and lived in underground dens, cities or towns to hide from the Rat Empire, but being very cautious of interactions with the overworld nations. Yeah, they didn't. I guess that sort of ties into what I was talking about before. They didn't really get the chance to do that. Like the wolves and a lot of the other creatures that don't really use their like hands for much didn't really evolve. So they might have tried to do that, but they would have been sort of found out pretty quickly by the rats, who also like to tunnel underground and have a keen senses, especially for danger. So they might have tried to do something like that, but it probably wouldn't have lasted too long. But there certainly are still wolves around, ones that did a few that managed to survive in that way, and then yeah, mainly they're pets at the moment. But yeah, again, like really far north where maybe the rats wouldn't want to live, or yeah, in like particularly remote areas where it would be hard for them to build their machinery and things like that, they'd survive. And the wolves maybe even somehow managed to get down to the southern hemisphere, maybe existing in a different form, like a slightly changed form with a bit less fur, maybe down in like Southern America or Africa or something like that. So yeah, they're probably around like that. Did Amethyst and Brianna adopt children after becoming a couple? Oh, sorry. Before I get into more questions, yeah, this is the Tali, of course. No, this is Commander Wolf, and I mean, I guess it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I'm really. What else can I? What else am I thinking here? All right, so we'll do one more. Whoop. All right. Hmm. 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 Yeah, kind of. All right. My brain like just flatlined for like a full minute trying to comprehend this, but I think it's got it. All right. Uh, all right. This is gonna be. I mean. Uh, all right. Did they adopt any children? Uh, they hasn't been any signs to that. I'm not sure kind of like how much I want to kind of dig into that just in case I end up doing a thing in the future where they might be in it again, or sort of going through like certain things that happened in between the comics, because like at the moment in the comic you sort of get the idea that probably they are um, not around anymore, although it hasn't sort of been specifically said. And I guess like a bit of a spoiler. No, I won't give a bit of a spoiler, but there's something on that. It's a reason why I'm not really wanting to say anything about that. But yeah, they definitely could have. And yeah, at the point, I'll say it's probably more likely than not, because they probably would have wanted like the full or Amethyst. Brianna didn't fully really care that much, but she would have like gone along with Amethyst on it, just trying to like just wanting to experience the full human gamut of stuff. So like I guess like being a couple, raising some kids, they might have, and there probably would have been a lot of um it would have been difficult to start with because I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but in the comic at the moment, it kind of shows you a little bit about like what it was like after the Twilight Shard came down. So immediately after that, it would have been pretty difficult to kind of get everything like anything like that sort of with the collapse of society adoption probably would have been like a concept that maybe people did it, but it wouldn't have been called that. And when it showed them again 6 months later at the end of the first book, it didn't appear like they had any kids. But after that, yeah, when the world sort of more settled down, definitely possible. And yeah, it's likely because none of us would have wanted to see what it's like to raise kids like humans would. Okay, so I'm going to get a reference real quick. Although it's something that I should know off the top of my head. Whoop. Okay, so I think next question. Do the animals have knowledge of human food like donuts? I always do the thing where I get two questions and I forget the second one by the time I answer the first one. So yeah, I'll do that first. Um, yeah, they don't really like the they sorry, I'm getting distracted. Yeah, they for the longest time, especially like since the since Shoal came along and the rat empire became what it was, and food basically needed to be grown in vats because it was a bit of a problem that up until that point a lot of the animals were kind of like eating other animals and all that kind of thing. So I guess one of the good things, maybe good, maybe not good, Emperor Shoal sort of did was make it so that everyone had like ample food source that they could eat. Probably was a bit boring, but they could do it without killing each other, which was probably fine. So because of that, they would have just had whatever he ended up making. So like the sort of the meat grown in the sort of 3D printing vats, which wouldn't really have been much like anything that humans had. Although I guess conversely to that, the the neural flare that Shoal used, even though it wasn't working at full capacity, would have contained a lot of knowledge about um, the sort of human culture and things like that. Because unlike the bases left behind by humanity on purpose for the animals to use, the neural flare contained everything. So he would have had knowledge of like human foods and things like that. So he might have like taken some cues from that and incorporated that. You know, why reinvent the wheel when you're trying to make food? So he would have drawn on human things, but like sort of futuristic human things, like not really, maybe not even anything we would have right now. Although I'm sure donuts and things like that would have projected like a few hundred years into the future. So yeah, he probably like by accident kind of just like drew on that information along with the information to actually create the food in the first place. So yeah, I'd say like not by meaning to, but he probably did introduce sort of human foods to the northern hemisphere people. The southern hemisphere people wouldn't have any idea. Like the only food that's really been shown in the southern hemisphere was um the the termites that Brianna was eating at one point, and in the I guess the kangaroo marketplaces they've just got sort of grain and fruits and things like that. So nothing really typically human. But yeah, I'd say a lot of the food that the artificial food that Shaw provided for people could be at least compared to like a similar type of human food. So they probably have donuts and pizzeria type stuff and anything like that really. Okay, so any guesses as to who this might be? Uh, no, okay, if you this is this is uh Vitaly. So yeah, I like for the longest time I was looking at Zatali's names like this doesn't conjure anything, and then like suddenly it was all so clear to me. So yeah, there's that. Get into another one real quick. All right. So now jump back into the uh Where were we in the chat? Okay. Seeing this image made me hear the old X-Men theme play through my mind. Yeah, that does on a regular basis. It applies to so many things. Like, the great and powerful MODOK! The show that wasn't that bad. I think Patton Oswalt did the voice for him in the show. I watched a couple of episodes, but it was with G, and she was like not so impressed with it. She was like just I could feel her eyes like boring into the side of my head as I was watching it. It wasn't really her thing. I love MODOK because he's so stupid, and I like Patton Oswalt most of the time. So yeah, it was fine. It was good. Um, he was cool looking in the live action movie. Was the hmm. he which well even if he did, he's not supposed to look cool. So that feels like that's going against the grain. That's Commander Wolf looking good. Nice. Glad you agree. I see we have a Commander Wolf and the human auxilia. Just hearing Deathcore of Krieg chanting in the back of my mind. Yeah, I'm getting the Command and Conquer. Oh, I'm going back in time a little bit there, but like the like the marching and the kind of chanting over the top of that was from that game. Haven't seen Wolf in this form in a long time. Very nice, awesome, no problem. Side comics, yeah. I see where this is going. I'm sorry. Um, Maybe they asked the lemurs to take some of their DNA and clone themselves descendants or children, perhaps. Perhaps. Um, Oops, without permission, risk handbitten. Yeah, it's always a risk worth taking, I feel like. Oh, there we go. Risk I'm willing to take. Yep. I see we have a Rockley surfboard. Could be. Although at the moment, um, not so much. Oh yeah, you got yeah, you got it. Chef Boyardee. See, we don't have Chef Boyardee here, so that was a pure accident. I was gonna make him more looking like a chef, but I didn't want to get like I didn't want to get too stereotypically French, and then I gave him a beret. So it's inescapable sometimes. Your sarcasm continues to go over people's heads. Oh yeah, it's hard in a one-dimensional medium like this to project the sarcasm. Um, Command and Conquer was your game back in the day. Yeah, it's great. I've still got like every cutscene or like the opening cinematic is like ingrained into my mind. Uh, yes. All right. So I think that's everyone. So yeah, I guess now we'll go back into some other drawing suggestions and some other questions. So we'll get a suggestion here. Yeah, so we'll go from one of Mordak's ones. Let's see now. Yeah, because he's been there for a little while. I've done the dictators at the table one already. Arthur breaking down the same whole fake shawl created in Universe 26, making pretty much the same arrogant entrance, while Elaborate complains that they just fixed that hole. Hole was likely cut open with the blades. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Okay, so, and then question was... Oh, whoop. Are there any notable distinctions between how the animals evolved socially to humans regarding things like family units, raising children, and concepts of romance? I like those sort of details with non-human biology and psychology. I think I kind of sort of answered that before. Yeah, I guess it hasn't really been shown, but typically it would be a projection or like an evolution of what they're like already doing. Just like how I guess and also based on like what they would have to be doing as to live in the world they sort of currently find themselves in. So yeah, I'd say yeah, I can't really go into too much detail. It wouldn't. I mean, I guess you can't really. I guess I'll just give like an example. the rats being a sort of fairly polyamorous society usually. So they, yeah, kind of swingers that sort of go about. And a lot of animals would still have, I guess, like romance in particular would be like kind of different because, like, the animals have, most of them have like, particular cycles that they kind of go through in terms of that. Like most of the time, romance probably wouldn't even be a thing. But then like at a certain time of the year, it kind of gets like the very important. So I suppose in terms of that, yeah, you think of it like that, like super duper Valentine's Day, or like for most of the year there wouldn't be a lot of it, much like in the comic there isn't really a lot of it, but like it'd be like the Vulcans doing like a bonfire or something. Like every so often it would just like get crazy, and I'm sure like as commercialism isn't like really a thing in the world. They're kind of like this weird, I guess, usually dictatorship. Like there's not really an economy, so to speak. Like people don't really earn money or they don't really need to in the same way. Whereas, human society, I guess, traditionally, when we think of a bit of a tangent, when we think of in the 50s, we thought of the future, we thought everyone not having a job, just lazing around while like weird box robots with human faces and Mickey Mouse gloves did all the work for us. But I guess the reality of that is that can't really happen because people still like making money and people still need jobs even if they don't like to do them. So either it's have no money and live in a society where everything's kind of just taken care of and you're given your ration, you have really no say on how important you want to be or your social standing or anything like that. It's either that or do jobs. So the animal society ends up, well, as under Shaw ends up being kind of like the first one. So they don't really have a commodity based like um, commercialism sort of thing. Which I only say so far to say that like there wouldn't really be an equivalent of a Valentine's Day where it's very commercialized and you got to go spend money because there's not really any point in doing that. But yeah, certainly they'd be getting very, the whole society would sort of shut down, really like big romantic holiday thing like that, which would be like true of most of the races. So I guess that's one way that would be different from how like we have it here. So let's get another. If a lab rat and a regular rat have kids, will they also have mind reading powers? No. So I think I might have said that the lab rats and the regular rats are like basically different species at this point. They can't really interbreed. They yeah, they've been genetically modified so much that they probably like wouldn't be able to make like fertile offspring really. And if they could, their offspring wouldn't have the mind reading powers because that's sort of something tied like very specifically to where their minds have been altered, and that's not a compatible gene with like regular rats. So they probably could have offspring, but the offspring wouldn't be lab rats. They'd just be like normal rats. They might be white, but they wouldn't have like lab rat powers. Like I made him look a little bit too angry. This is a weird face in general. Um, that's okay. I feel like yeah, we want him more arrogant than just like angry. Maybe like smug. Like no, it's not smug. Oh, I guess that was kind of right. But that's fine. I guess we'll give the attitude with more of like how he's standing. So like yeah, yeah. um, is some of the old rat armor colors based on where they live, or does it only represent certain specialty professions? It's kind of half and half. For anyone who, oh, dang it, the problem with sort of the Patreon pages being 40 pages ahead is like there's so much stuff in there. I don't know why I'm giving just regular rat armor. I think that's kind of like he's got more of a squirrel armor, but so far ahead is like there's certain things that I can't really say. It doesn't really matter. There is a point in there where some of them are shown to have purple armor, but whether or not that actually happened is still up for debate. And yeah, the colors of the armor is usually two things. So anything that happened in that flashback is kind of not really 100% proven to be true yet. So I can't really say on that. But yeah, there was purple ones. But apart from that, the squirrels have orange ones. But they didn't have that in the original comic. It was mainly a something that they did later on. Their striders were different colors, and they sometimes did. The striders are different colors because of the rats wanted to kind of very quickly see, if they had to, at a moment's notice, the colors of things, if they needed to destroy them or not. So that the striders used by other creatures, they need to be a different shape slightly because of the way that the kind of nerve impulse unit like interacts with their brain, so they can control it better. It's got to be shaped more like themselves. But the color is more as like an easily recognizable, so the rats can be like, oh, the submission signal went down. I better destroy every strider that isn't a black one. And yeah, they're usually like bright colors that represent the creature that actually is in it. So the squirrel ones were orange because I guess that's kind of like a color that they are. The raccoon ones, if you think back to when the first Shroud pilot went down and you're introduced to like the kids at the school trip, the raccoon strider that breaks through the wall there is like kind of raccoon colors. It's like a weird brown and gray and black. Um, so yeah, let's see the blades. I think they just make them look like kind of this. I think that's sort of it. But yeah, the energy blades cutting the hole in the wall, and it's sort of falling down or kind of melted. Yeah, so generally they would have like a black armor because Shaw was pretty like not that unless he had a reason to give something color coding because of its threat level. They didn't really change it much. He made his prototype mechs. He made his factories that could build them based on like him reverse engineering what he first built and then forgetting how to do it. And because of that, everything was just like pretty stock standard, that the black and gray color, and then sort of painted afterwards. So unless they needed to do that, they probably wouldn't have bothered. The white armor though is a couple of things. It's been referred to as a couple of things in the comic. It is the color of like scientists, and when Amethyst is talking to the Granite, the bear teacher, they sort of talk about that, how they both have it because they're both sort of science based. But Amethyst wears it because it's very human like, and the human armor is white usually. And so she, yeah, that's why she wears the white one. But she just happens to also be a scientist. So it was like a sort of happy coincidence. And the reason why the scientist suits are white is again because of what Shaw managed to glean from the neural flare. He didn't really know what he was building, but the ones that were equipped for like more scientific equipment, he made white because that's what the humans did, and that's what was in the neural flare. So because they were like, yeah, when he wanted the technological suits, those were more close to the human suits, so they ended up being white like that. Okay, so we've got this bit, and then we've got the three Stooges rats coming in. He's not really looking at him. I'll draw them in first, and then I'll get him to sort of look at him. Oh yeah, it says in the question, white armor typically scientist armor? Yes. Were any characters inspired by those from The Secret of Nim? For those rats living in what was Japan, were any ninjas? So The Secret of Nim is like called out in the comic. Like Amethyst is like talking about the movie as like her favorite movie early on because it is, and like the comic is not like it's like based on it or anything, but like it's supposed to be not a spiritual successor, but like I guess like an evolution or like a sci-fi version of a similar sort of idea where animals have kind of been messed with by humanity, and it's had some like kind of unforeseen consequences, but humans are still like this this species that is almost like godlike and not able to be really even perceived as being an animal. So like even though the rats and the mice in Secret of Nim are intelligent, and although the rats are anyway, the humans are like a force of nature. Like, they don't really blame them for having their little houses destroyed every now and then, but there's something to be sort of feared and all that kind of stuff. So at least at the start of In Our Shadow it was like that, but now humans have sort of become a little bit more of a creature that isn't on such a high of a pedestal. But in terms of like, were any characters based on them, the Secret of Nim characters, there really isn't that strong of character in Secret of Nim. Like, it's been a while since I've seen it, but like everyone's kind of, you've got your typical like Dom DeLuise character, like the crow, just like a like sort of bumbling idiot. Oh, I'm getting a call. No, I'm not. And then you've got even like Mrs. Brisby herself. It's like she's not that. I mean, she's like a pretty great character, but like her personality isn't that defined really. She kind of just wants to protect her kids at any cost. But apart from that, you don't really get a sense of like what she's like as a person, and that kind of goes for everyone else in it. Probably like as usual with films like that, it's the villains you kind of get the most idea of what's going on. So I guess if I didn't do this, but if I was going to say that I did, I guess Jenna, the rat bad guy, although I can't even really remember what he's trying to do. I think he's doing the politics, but I guess like he's sort of most similar to like Emperor Shawl or someone like that, where like he's sort of like fairly flamboyant and like larger than life and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely wasn't thinking of that character when I made the Shawl character. I was, what was I thinking of when I made him? I think I was just thinking about like when I was a teacher, like the idea that he like the way he sort of sees life was kind of like I had a thought about like, oh, all these I've been teaching for like 17 years and all these groups of kids keep going through and getting replaced by new ones, and like it's getting real hard to remember some of them. It's like, oh, I bet that it's kind of like what immortality is like. You see some people for like a fraction of your lifespan, but it's like a really important part of their life, and then they kind of leave and they probably remember you a lot more than you remember them. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do like a character that's kind of like that. So that like a lot of the things Shawl says are sort of like things I was thinking about like when I was teaching. So that's where that came from. Maybe that wasn't really a question, but that's kind of like an aside. So okay, I think I'll do like marks on the wall for like where the original like cut was that got broken through. Because he didn't like do it exactly the same. So yeah, there's like a slightly different circle here that he kind of broke through. Yeah. So what are they saying? They're saying, oh yeah, they just fixed that hole. Let's see. Hey. No, that's not gonna fit up there. Oh, now I'm doing the opposite. I bet I've just covered up most of this picture with a picture of my face. That's fine. Hey, we just fixed that hole. Is that what they look like? I think that's kind of what they look like. The three Stooge rats. If I do the next one of the next drawing prompts, I guess she'll have to look up a reference of what my in-depth character looks like. And yeah, I know my writing is very difficult to read, but I hope that's close enough. So I guess the next question that I saw were there ninjas in the Japan rats? No. They probably would have acted a bit like it, just because that's kind of the ninja techniques. A lot of them are kind of rat-like in a way. So I suppose they probably would have had fighting styles and things that could have been similar, but they wouldn't have called them ninjas. I guess no. The closest you're gonna get to that is like Skaven, I guess, because they've got the clan Eshin, which are basically just like assassin ninjas. Oh, I guess ninjas are mostly assassins anyway, so it's kind of redundant. But yeah, so there we go. That's Arthur breaking down through the same hole that Emperor Shawl went through, and I guess that places him officially in the timeline as being like around about that time. But that's all good. I guess he's immortal and stuff, so he can just exist whenever. Okay. That's that one. I'll do another one here. Sage experiencing dadhood with a young marble climbing all over him. Did I do that one? I think I might have already done that one. I think I've done that one. If I haven't, then let me know, or I'll look back and look. I forget what I do in these things. The three red stooges acting like the three stooges, beating each other up and knocking sense into one another. All right. I'll just go back to chat real quick. Love Command and Conquer franchise. Yeah. Um. Oh, still play Kane's Wrath every so often. Red. Lucy, I'm home. Yep. Funny, I was thinking more along the lines of here's Johnny. I guess, yeah, could be either, sort of like a mix of both somehow. But his Johnny tends to be a bit more like deranged. I feel like. I think lab rats could control electricity and also pyrokinesis is possible. I mean, look at the firebenders. Yeah, although bending is kind of more like a magic, and I can't resist the urge of putting everything grounded in reality, which kind of annoys people sometimes when I'm like, I can't accept something that doesn't have an explanation for how it works usually. Um, but I see a lot of similarities between the Fire Nation and the Rat Empire. Yeah, basically, and they're both kind of just big invading, dominating forces, I guess. So would the raccoons be the nation of casinos, or would who would that be? Maybe the raccoons are like pretty like poor and I guess they could. Yeah, let's. They haven't really got money in the world properly. They kind of deal in like clout or favors and things like that. But they could have something like that. They get colorful if the signal goes down. Congratulations, you're being rescued. Humans are like Cthulhu and Hurricane Hugo combined. Yeah, basically. Um, picture power grab. We're not wanting to move from the bush farm. No, my rat ninjas. Sorry. I mean, now that humans are back in it, rat ninjas could be a thing going forward. So it's not completely against possibilities. What's the time? Okay, still got heaps of time. All right. So the Three Stooges one. That's right. I've got to get a reference. I know roughly what they look like, but it's more like I want to get an idea of like a pose that they could be in. Let's see. Three Stooges. uh, okay, these are all Stooges. Whoops. Bump the mic real quick. Make sure everyone's awake. Action. Action figure. No, I just want them doing some stuff. Okay, I guess I'll just make it up. I can make up some sort of pose. I'll be back in 1 second. I just gotta go for a second. Yeah, two giant copies always seems like a good idea at the time. All right, so now let's go and start another one up here. All right, I couldn't find any actual like Three Stooges like doing any stuff except for pointing at each other mostly. I guess that kind of works. Um, yeah, that's all right, and I'll put them in like the outfits as well, I suppose. Um, so let's start here. Um, Now, what the hair look like? I don't know if I can be bothered looking at it. But it needs more emotion than that. More energy. This is the golden age of cinema. Everyone's got to be acting like, huh? Oh, that line went really thick. Rid of this. Oh yeah, I suppose I should have gotten a question, so I'm not just describing every line that I'm doing. But I think her hair's just like kind of normal and just kind of goes like that. I hope that the cursor appears on the screen, otherwise that wouldn't have made any sense. That's better. Yeah, I think it's like this, something like that. I don't know, something like that. That'll do. Yeah, so we're doing like three Stoogesing around. Now they're kind of this weird pose where they're all like intertwined. So this might be pushing the old spatial awareness noggin. Speaking of Cthulhu, I need to think in terms of like Lovecraftian angles in order to actually get this pose to make any sense. Might do a simplified version of it. Before that, let's get a question. Do did it do? Did it do? Oh, that's not right. This one. For that matter, did any human culture and tradition reach them through environmental osmosis, or was it only in those archives? Yeah, pretty much only in the archives. There's nothing left. The only human culture that was actually like left on the surface was like a couple of monuments. The only things that actually survived the kind of 20, 30,000, probably 30-ish thousand years between like humanity collapsing and the animals rising was a little bit of the pyramids was left, and the Mount Rushmore is there, and some of the Acropolis and sort of some Greek stuff ended up getting buried in some sort of tectonic activity. So they're all there. They're in the first comic. So a bit of culture reached them. Oh, and they do have the buried Lamborghini factory from the first one as well. So yeah, a couple of things like that. So just like those, but even then, like the culture of those didn't really translate across. They didn't really have any idea what gods were or what any of these things were built for, or what a car really was, or how it why they had wheels, and because the animals actually never invented the wheel. Um, Animals have concepts like superheroes or similar fantasies. Yeah, let's have a look at that. So I'll just start doing these other ads. Goodness, I can't even see what's happening. This super low res. Didn't they have 4K back in 1925? Ridiculous. I can't even see what's happening. But okay, we've got one in the middle here. Superheroes and things like that. So it depends on which sort of the cultures you're kind of talking about. So the kangaroos, for example, or like all the Australian people, they sort of are equivalent to a like a medieval society. So they would have like I guess a human medieval equivalent of how they see superheroes and things. So it wouldn't so much be superheroes, it would be more like a folk tales or like legendary figures that existed in the past and did some things. They're all about sort of, I guess, more hero worship in the way that like a great king or someone who would do a Robin Hood would be sort of remembered fondly by a certain group, and sort of be used as either a like a cautionary tale or someone to like aspire to live up to the virtues of. It's like a character like Bray's fake dad, the Lord Brushfire. He would sort of almost be a superhero like figure. Like they wouldn't call him that, but that would be it'd be akin to like how they'd be seen in real life, like a larger than life figure. Um, yeah, so they would have that, whereas other cultures which are a bit more advanced might have some other sort of things. I'm gonna move his head a little bit closer if I can. Whoop. You know, better. Back to this. Yeah, so the other races probably have more superhero type stuff, and like certainly people who like knew about the humans, I'd probably see a lot of them would be seen as, if not like god type beings, then definitely like a super being type thing. Not really one that's doing anything, more of like even like probably origin myths or that sort of thing. So there hasn't really been anything seen. Probably in like the very recent rat culture, there would be a yeah, once the humans sort of came in and a lot of the stuff was known more about the human culture, the animals would probably start thinking of their own superheroes and whatnot. So yeah, there's probably some now, whereas historically there wouldn't have been. It would have been more like worshipping people that were important. And actually, sure, not confirmed, but Shaw might have like introduced the idea himself because he would know about superheroes from the neural flare knowledge. So he might have given the concept or like portrayed himself as one a lot of the time. It's probably why he has this sort of fairly original, not original, but like unique look of lab coat over armor to like inspire this as being like he's something a bit different. He's sort of got a costume, I guess, kind of like he's this scientist savior. So yeah, I guess he would have portrayed himself as a superhero in some ways, sort of on purpose to keep people in line or worshipping him, things like that. Okay, so go back in and get another cue. Oh, oh, it looks like that's already been answered. Whoops. Oh no, someone's. Oh, great. Oh, we're going in there and answering them as we go. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Did Amethyst have any games in her archive or only media? Do the animals have mediums like video games? They do. So again, in like a recent-ish page, you can see a flashback where they're playing a game, like a video game slash board game, and it's like a tabletop kind of thing. Let's see, I think we've got an arm coming in through here somehow. And then yeah, so they definitely did have them, and they would have been like pretty advanced because like the holographic technology is a pretty big deal. I guess it would have been like a Star Wars type holographic computer slash board game technology where maybe the quality of the image wasn't that great, but the actual technology is pretty advanced. So yeah, definitely they would have had things like that, and in the archives of Amethyst, there would have been heaps of them, and like they would have played them, and probably like she would have introduced them to like people around her as well. So probably all of her friends. That's probably why people like Jade, who was sort of a scientist but also her like weapons expert, probably became that because he was just big into a lot of the maybe first person shooters that were on Amethyst's hard drive. So yeah, it's very likely that much like she shared them with Brianna later on, she would have shared that with a lot of other people too. So definitely, even before humans came back into it, there would have been a lot of games and things like that. And we've established already that a lot of the cultures did make movies. So making video games, if they have the technology to do it, is probably like almost an unavoidable convergent evolution, I would say. Um, they would definitely be doing that. Uh, oh, they've got puppets of themselves. I couldn't even see that. Okay, that's probably a bit too high concept um, to be doing right now. But let's just I'll just make all their fingers being just more pointings. Yes. And yeah, so while I'm sort of this is not kind of what I envisioned when I first started doing this, but that's fine. Just gotta roll with them. Go back in. That was a quick question. um, why do animals discriminate against albinos? Do animals have any religions, or do they just all revere the primordial soup? Yeah, so the albino thing wasn't really that well explained, like in the comic, but like generally this is a kind of a hangover, a holdover from like the way that animals traditionally kind of act, and probably the way even humans would have acted, like up until a certain point, where things that are seen as like sort of different in like like a community, like a pack or something, can generally be seen as like a weakness. So it would probably be ostracized, and like you might be ejected from a pack if you kind of have albinism or something like that. It's sort of seen as like an undesirable quality. So I guess an extreme example might be like birds of paradise, who kind of are all about being like the prettiest, hottest bird there is, and like that's very much based on like the perception of what is good, and like a thing that would be passed, a good thing to be passed on to the next generation. Whereas albinism generally not so much, unless that it actually is a feature, and even then, not really, because like polar bears aren't albino; they just have white fur. It's not like them being albino was a trait that got passed on that let them become better at being polar bears. So yeah, generally speaking, it was a trait that would be shunned by communities of animals because of it's just perceived as a weakness, I guess. So that kind of thing would have pervaded the animals up to this point, and they haven't really. Maybe they had reached a point where it was fine, and especially when the lab rats were around, it probably would have been perceived as like being like probably being more creepy, but not necessarily um, a thing to be shunned because of weakness. It was probably more like, oh, when lab rats were like just commonly known as being things that were everywhere and what they looked like and everything, people probably would have been afraid of them. It's like, can you read my mind right now? So that's probably why they were ostracized at that point. But in the modern day, it's more just because it's kind of weird. And in a world where survival of the fittest is kind of a thing again, stuff like that, they haven't really got the luxury of like being super generous a lot of the time to people, and that's kind of passed on to the kids who kind of give Marble and Seed a hard time. In the new comic, so or did I guess. So can't even tell what's happening anymore here. That's probably for the best. I feel like that tracks. So just give a bit more detail here. And do animals have any religions or no. So yeah, most of them don't even know what a religion is, and when they are told what it is, it just seems kind of crazy to them, which is like one of the reasons to have the scene with the school group, because the kids kind of mention that they're like they sort of get told about like what a god is and like praying and stuff like that, and they're like that seems like a little like a little strange and desperate. I'm not like casting any aspersions on religion. People can do what they like as long as they're not hurting anybody. But that's kind of the perception from the animal view, because they have no real concept of like a deity. Because I guess humanity traditionally had them to explain. I think I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again. But generally, deities come about to try to explain something that can't be explained, and but because like the animals kind of evolved in a society where humanity existed, and at least at the start, people kind of knew that there was some big race that came before that set everything up, and um, they live in a world where most things were already explained, and that kind of came about sort of unnaturally. They didn't really have time to think about like alternative reasons for why stuff is the way it is. They didn't really need to. So that's kind of why they didn't evolve religions. But probably in like the southern hemisphere, they would have, some of them at least. So some of those cultures you see, like the meerkats, or maybe even maybe even numbats, kangaroos, whatever. Although the numbats were like typically always like a very sort of, if they had a religion, it was more of a like a Buddhism type. They're just believing in like the power of not necessarily a god, but like mindfulness and meditation and stuff like that being something with actual power to it. Uh, yeah, I think this is pretty much done. Yeah, I guess like they're all blaming each other. I guess they could be blaming each other about like whose fault it was that, or who's gonna like fix the wall for a second time, or whose fault this is that they allowed this to happen, and then we can just have like Arthur in the background here. Oof. That's a rough one. I'll get rid of that, I think. It's been like uh, it's a bit deranged again. What are we doing? I don't know why I add so many lines. There we go. This one had like a sort of face. There we go. It's kind of just like looking in, because maybe to get their attention, but they just like immediately start bickering. Yeah, there we go. There's that. Oh, that's the end of the questions. Nice. Of these ones. So yeah, cool. Made pretty good time on them. So yeah, so if anyone's got any other questions in the chat, or if you had questions before in the chat, I'll jump back into the chat and see. But as you would know by now, I'm very bad at remembering questions that were there. I normally write them down, but this time I didn't, which was foolish of me. So yeah, if I haven't mentioned it again, I have probably forgotten, and just write it back down in there again. I'm gonna have a drink of water before I turn into dust and blow away. I feel like the bigger the glass of water I bring, the more it becomes white noise, and I can't actually see it. Too many coffees, yes, indeed. Yeah. I mean, that's not really a nyuk tableau, but fine. Why do I get the feeling that our three Stooges are secretly in love with one another? They could be, although it was also yeah, I think so. The more I watch media and like accidentally just ship everything, I feel like that's, if not the case, then it might as well be. Because watching One Piece again, and sorry to keep going back to that, but Zoro and Sanji, it's pretty damn obvious. Oh, they hate each other, and yet they always secretly seem to find a way to be angrily worried about each other. So like, no, it's nice. And they clearly know each other better than anyone else does, despite what they claim. So yeah, let's just say that they're in some sort of relationship together. Why not? Even though it said that they kind of in Universe 26 where they live, they kind of went a bit odd. So they kind of their relationships are. Looks like she's got an eye patch. That's not. Yeah, it's much like the Universe 25 experiment, to seeing how social stuff kind of went a bit awry when sort of everything's all locked together and given unlimited resources, and people don't really have a drive anymore. Things get kind of strange. So they're, yeah, not to like say anything in a relationship is strange. I don't want to be saying that, but like, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm gonna stop talking. Let's go back to here. Sorry, you're very late. Oh, welcome, Team Snowdog. Welcome aboard. I'll just quickly flash through. Oh, that might have been like 1,000 years ago that you came aboard, but I'll just quickly Oh, okay. It's like, who the heck? It's like another member. It's like, no, of course not. Um, cool. There we go. All right. So I'll just quickly like flash through a few of what we've been doing. This is Three Stooges. This is Shoal breaking through the same hole in the comic that was broken through before. And before that, the rest of them are just kind of like me trying to or drawing down my first thought of like what people's usernames in the chat are. So that's Zitali, that's Commander Wolf, that's Mordak, believe it or not. That's SC Pilot, that's Black 19. Is that it? Oh, and that's some One Piece. Yeah. So let's get another drawing suggestion. I think there's still some more in the suggestion chat. But yeah, if anyone's was meant to be Arthur breaking through the hole, but still fun breaking through. Oh, that's what I did. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Boop. Done a few of those. Okay, let's go. Then I got a few more here. Noticing a theme with Armored Heroes suggestions here. Okay. Scoria flirting with Splinter, who flirts back. They're both the same size. I'll do that. I think I'll not have Splinter flirting back since that's doesn't feel like him really. I feel like he's too old for this shit. Splinter. So yeah, but Scoria is the the sort of light brown / white one from the first comic, who's kind of like not an amethyst repaint, but like a that's a very long nose for a rat. Has this similar kind of hair. So let's see. Yeah. Yeah, let's get a question. I can. But yeah, your Nuzlocke favorites wanting guns, Palworld style. Oh, yeah, okay, yes. I'll absolutely do that. I'll do this one real quick, and then I love that idea, so let's do that. Scoria kind of looks like this. I haven't drawn her in like 10,000 years. But let's see. What does flirting look like? I've never done it. I don't. God, so awkward. Let's see. I guess let's have the arm sort of coming forward like this, and then I guess like this. Is that a? Yeah. Well, I'll go with that. Okay. I guess it can look like anything, whatever. And Splinter. I feel like more like this. Yeah, I think that's about. All right. All right. So what does Splinter look like? I'm gonna no scope Splinter and see how accurate that is. I'm gonna do him from the original comic, since that's kind of comic, not the comic. Original comic Splinter's like something like this. I'll do him from the cartoon, the original cartoon. I feel like he had like pretty small ears, and they were like really close together. And then he had like this, Um, I feel like he's going to be like not really. Oh, and I think his eyes were kind of like this. Oh god, I'm drawing a really tired guy. He had like. Oh, I'll come back to the face. I'm pretty sure he had like some robes. Like he was sort of like hunched-ish, sort of like this. Maybe it was like a sort of vest. No, it was a yeah. It was like a bathrobe. Maybe he wasn't that hunched. It was like this. He's like having like with a cup of tea. God, he just looks like like a guy who's just like been working 17 hours straight at their job because their mortgage has just gone up by $500 a month, and he just wondering where he lost track of his life. I think he'll have like it's gonna be like a meat, like a bowl of ramen or something like that. Whatever splinters do. Toothpick's just a splinter anyway, really, if you think about it. And, no, I meant a chopstick, not a toothpick. I guess it's just a matter of scale. And then he's got some bits. Yeah, I'll do this, and then I think the Palworld one will take us out to the rest of the time. Um, oh god, what am I doing? I think he just had like. Oh, this is looking really bad. I think I'll give him like more. Was he like that? Did he have like lidded eyes? No, his mouth probably wasn't like this. It was probably like I was projecting too much. Is it like um and like short chin? Yeah, I feel like teeth and then like mass like big underbite and maybe this. And then yeah, like I feel like his eyes were like this or something like this. Um, but I can't. And then probably like eyebrows, like oh god. I feel like he's just like oh no, he had like little dot eyes. Yeah, welcome to Kitfox mumbles about trying to remember what Splinter looks like. What you're signed up for, I think. This and then. All right, I'm gonna. Oh, whiskers. What do I freaking? There we go. That added some level of. Oh, do you have like a pattern, like something like? Yeah, that was like a pink, kind of a pinkish color. It's probably been about 30 years since I've seen this show. Let's just unmuddy this nightmare. Oops, not that unmuddied. Oh yeah, we've been looking a little bit into Palworld, but I've really been trying to get a lot of comic pages lately done. Sorry, I'm missing words out. You don't need every word on this day and age. We've been looking into a lot of Palworld stuff, but I've been doing like so many comic pages like so quickly just because it's kind of getting to a point where things are finally kind of starting to kick off. Oh, in keeping with my going on a tangent from a tangent, I think I might just real quick mention. Oh yeah, so the the little kerfuffle with like someone having like not criticism, but like saying how like the second part of the story was kind of like not great and kind of like not that interesting or whatever. Yeah, no, I totally get that. And like the reason why I didn't say anything about it like on there was like I don't really want to weigh in. Like everyone can just have their own opinions. It doesn't matter. Like a creator shouldn't like jump in when someone says they have an opinion on their stuff. So that's the only reason. I wasn't like seething with anger or anything. I'm like, yeah, and I totally get it because the current like the part two is supposed to be like different and might have made a bit of a mistake, but what it's sort of supposed to be is like an anti-adventure, I guess, where the the first one was very like fast-paced and snappy, and it's all about oh doing this and this to save the world, and everyone's like sort of everything's going okay. And the second one is more like as opposed to like a physical stuff that's happening, it's associated with like a psychological fallout where everyone's kind of they've got like massive psychological problems and they're just trying to like fix things, but everything that happens just ends up making stuff worse. And like it's just like huge stretches of things end up just being kind of pointless, which does like tie into the theme, like the idea that sort of will become apparent at the end. I just realized now I probably spent too long setting things up for like a payoff that I don't know if it warranted such a huge setup. So yeah, I know things that have been sort of like the comics been a bit slow. The characters have been a bit of like downers, and like everything's kind of bad. That sort of was by design because I'm doing a different thing. It's like yeah, like a subversion of the first comic basically in every way, and that's because the main theme of it is going to be a subversion of the. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Point is, I'm not really fussed about it. Thanks for like sticking up for me and things and whatever. And I saw that they retracted the comment, which I was kind of sad about because it's a valid criticism, and like I agree with a lot of it. And but that's partly why I wanted to keep doing the comic faster because it's finally starting to ramp up and things kind of happening where stuff's coming together a bit more instead of being a bunch of disparate bad things that are happening and people dealing with it badly. I'm just going to write this as Splinter from Turtle Team, from Tuttle Brothers. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of pages of comic, which means I haven't had time to play Palworld, which means that we've been watching some videos about Palworld. So yeah, I do kind of like it. I love the how sort of just like a parody. It's like a Paul Verhoeven like Starship Troopers or RoboCop. It's just like this satirical parody of Pokemon, and like it's really funny. But I will probably, and that's probably the thing that's keeping Nintendo out of their lawsuit capabilities because it's transformative, it's different, it's for a different purpose. So yeah, I would like to play it, but I sort of I guess know enough about it to kind of know. But yeah, I just haven't really got the time to sort of commit to doing that because I've got to try to get comic pages out. And yeah, I've actually got quite a bit less time now that I'm trying to, I guess, do art mainly. And that takes a lot of time. So yeah, I haven't really got time to play them video games anymore. But yeah, thanks always so much for everyone doing the Patreon and giving me commissions when you can. That like is literally what's keeping me alive and keeping the comic going. So that's incredibly radical of all of you. So that's a weird way to have your hand, I think. Not that it matters that much, but probably shouldn't have committed to having this hand on the table, but that's okay. I guess the tail can be like coming around this way. I'm just gonna see how close I actually got to a Splinter. Don't like that. Looks a bunch of weird sideways teeth. I wonder if I can use the fill bucket like a real artist. Ah, I can. Alright, so that's fine, I think. And then something else? Am I missing something? I came over here thinking I was missing something big, but now I don't remember what it was. I guess I'll finish the armor. Yeah. Oh, the eye, that's right. I do those sort of like those vacant, like blank eyes a lot of the time, but that's like anime coding for like having your mind being controlled or something. So I should probably stop doing that. Anyway, there's that. Time to get to Palworld. All right. Okay. So I'll go to the chat real quick before I do that. One of the I just got that's a lot. Okay. These flirty eyes, yeah, they're as flirty as I was willing to make them. This is a PG rated show after all. She finds Splinter being quite charming, apparently. I wonder which Splinter Kitfox will draw. Oh, well, there we go. None of them is the answer to that. One of the Gen Z words I've taken to liking is Riz, which has the Riz, the charisma to translate to boomers like me. I know that in the 2012 Teenage Mutant Brothers cartoon, Splinter was quite younger. I don't think I ever saw that one. I know in the 2003 one, he was a bit younger. He's doing a bit of a Benjamin Button, just getting younger every time. Except in like I think the Michael Bay ones, I haven't seen them. Sorry, yes, he just produced them. He's like a decrepit old like disgusting blob of like rat hair and skin. So he, not the best from what I've seen. He looks. Oh, how did I miss that? I just saw like, oh, that's a good question, and then I went up. What question? Oh, the one directly above that I just like blanked out of existence. I wonder what Amethyst thought about old human media with anther animals like Splinter. Oh yeah, that's a good. Okay, yeah, that's a good question to do while I'm doing. He looks doing this. He looks like leaves me alone, woman. I'll have to look that up. I don't have the Riz, so I don't haven't seen the memes like the kids look at. I relate to this Splinter entirely too much, don't we all? Probably, maybe. Don't want to speak for everyone, but it's been a little slow. But Seed's anxiety and relationship with Marvel are good hook. I thought that's gonna come to a yeah. That's actually gonna have something happen with that pretty soon. So that's yeah. And Jay Runner is president. The world can't be that screwed. Yeah, Madagascar's doing all right. I only brought the criticism back up because I suddenly had a comment reviving the convo after it had been hidden and wasn't sure how to answer. Yeah, fair enough. Both companies are in Japan where they're super draconian with copyright. Mm-hmm. I will say Palworld put in a lot of detail to the guns than they needed to. It's kind of nice to see them fully animate muzzle load. Warhammer 3 cough. Yeah, I think them being so realistic is. Otherwise, I might think it was like a ripoff, but the fact they went so realistic with the guns and things just makes it clear this is like the best kind of like satirical like subversion or like yeah, this is probably what the real world of Pokemon would be. Speaking of Dragon Sketch, oh yeah, dang it. So I'll have to go quick. Using a tail float with, yeah, I suppose if you got it, might as well. Do the lemurs have a pizzeria? Yes. Do they actually do that in the setting? Um, in what setting? I'm not sure, but yeah, answer in chat. I haven't got time. I also saw a new question in the Discord. Okay, I'll do the amethyst one and the draw Kitfox boys username. I mean, I mean, all right, real quick. See if I can. Oh, okay, right. The thing wouldn't load. I mean, I can't not. I mean, it's the only thing. Oh, that's way too small. He's a kid, but like I guess I'll have to like draw him like. But yeah, what did Amethyst think of animals in like the media? Yeah. So I guess she probably well, I guess that's because she didn't have like flair knowledge, so she didn't like know anything about like humanity much besides what was on that drive. So she wouldn't have like known, I guess, about um humanity's like eternal, I guess, fascination with like anthro stuff, like going back to sort of Egyptians and even before that. Um, we've always kind of had them, and like they've always sort of just been around. So yeah, she probably would have been like probably a bit surprised by it. Yeah, because things like your secret of Nim or things like that would have made sense because she would have known about like what animals like looked like during human times, um, but not so much kind of our perception of them in terms of like looking like anthers and stuff. So yeah, she would have been pretty surprised and maybe like, but she like sort of loves humans a lot, so she probably just thought that oh maybe this is some sort of like projection of the future because it did happen. And when you're like living in a world, it's pretty easy to like relate stuff you see to kind of what you know. So she probably would have thought like, oh, this is how it ended up. So I guess the humans just like knew this was going to happen. So they just like they made us like how we were gonna be. So that's probably what she thought. Not so much that like Anthro was like a stylistic or like the idea of personas or anything like that, but more like a prediction of the future. Okay, so there's that. That I mean, how could I not just think of Kitfox as a little wee boy? But yeah, they'll do for that. So yeah, I've got two things that I've got to do real quick. I've got to do the Palworld, and then I've got to do a dragon. So we'll get rid of that. We'll do this. If I don't do the Palworld one like super good, I will. I'll probably just do it again next time as like a hook for like the next stream. So his kid, I feel like would he might even like be on board with the guns. Honestly, I don't know. Whoops. There we go. He might be on board with it. So yeah, let's see what the actual thing was. You want to look faves wanting guns. Okay, kid disapproves. Okay, I'll go with the prompt as the prompt said. But maybe next time I'll do like if people wanted to. How the heck did that get that? If people wanted to like suggest some Pokemon to like have guns or something, then yeah, we'll see. But yeah, at the moment I'll just do the faves as the prompt suggested and Kit disapproving. I feel like his idea of it. Yeah, I don't know. Would he be against it? He might. I feel like he probably would. Probably just because he like. What does he even want? I guess he wants to get the badges, so the spawning balls. So probably just a means to an end. But yeah, in this particular case, I guess maybe he hasn't thought about it too much. But like, let's see. Let's get some disapprovement. Disapproving arms. Disapproving arms. Oh, his big collar, which I totally didn't. The way that his like outfit sort of morphed from the usual like Pokemon trainer design is like totally not what I used for the Lima collars on their outfits. But that's neither here nor there. Get rid of all this. Okay, faves. Felony. Would he want a gun? Probably not. Roselia. What's her name? Fancy Free. She already has guns. Irrelevant. Ashes. Probably gun. So yeah. Yeah, I think if any of them would want a gun, that would probably be who would. See now, it's been a hot minute since I've drawn this Mightyena. I think that's kind of how it. Oh no, she goes like. One of them is wrong. I'm not sure which. But yeah, I guess she'll be like, yeah, okay, let's just, I guess in order to translate the idea, there'll be like a gun catalog or something. And four up here, and then sort of pointing with the other one. Do the old trick of having half the body off the page, so I don't need to draw anything. Okay, we've got the Mightyena kind of fluff going along there. Does it do this? Oh wait, no, she's got like eye markings. This? God, it's been like 11, 12 years or something since I've drawn her, so that's fine. If that's not right, then take it up with the management. Close enough. All right, so now, what gun would you want? What gun can I do in 3 minutes? I guess just, it's got to be bending with the page. Oh, it's just like a AK, I guess. And then, I guess there could be like lots of guns. She's like pointing to, oops. Maybe just a bazooka. I think you can have those in Palworld. Probably. Yeah, and then I guess just like guns. Some of the guns on this page, and then yeah, and then oh yeah, do like a little just like a real little like what would that even look like? Because when the Pokemon have the guns, I mean when the Pallions, when the Palworlds, when the Pals have the guns, they mainly just like are the guns, I think. So but yeah, let's just do like a little this. Or M16, whatever. Anyway, they're like that. Yeah, that's good. I'll buy that this 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it took. Okay, so I've got 4 minutes to do a dragon then. So if got any dragon ideas in the chat, then I'll take them now. Should have white? Yeah, white feet. And oh yeah, I guess while I'm waiting for that, I'll just do like a not so impressed felony, since he would be not very on board with this. Life odds? This. Life odds? This? I've decided not to do a felony. Oh, it's okay. You can sort of read that, I guess. Yeah, there we are. All right, next. Go. Next. Bloop, 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 bloop. The kids are all a hive mind. Yeah. I will say for a homage of Pokemon, I think the reason Palworld is doing so well is because of Pokemon's latest entry that felt weirdly like Fallout 3 Bethesda edition did. Yeah. Oh right, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I didn't really do much the latest Pokemons. I'm thinking of doing a Nuzlocke of Palworld though, if I can find a way to do that. I mean, you might approve until he considers Ashes with a bazooka. Yeah, true. He's not definitely probably is going to be the first on the list. Ashes was a strong contender for my favorite of his regulars. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, they're probably the one from the first run that actually anyone remembers. Perry Perry was kind of someone, I guess. Did Ashes survive? Yes, they didn't. No, they did. Yeah, Ashes did survive. They certainly did. Oh yes, Ashes did in fact survive, as Kitfox Boy says. Some weird guns, yes. Some weird rocket launchers, yeah. Pom Pom, a Pom Pom dragon. Oh, Cinder from the Spyro series. Toriyama dragon. Oh, can I do all three of these in 2 minutes? So, a Pom Pom dragon. You mean like a pom pom? Okay, that's easy. And then, yes. Okay, that's one. Done. Next, Cinder from the Spyro series. What does Cinder look like? She's like, okay, I'm gonna do that from memory. She's kind of got like a triangle head. She's got horns. She's got like probably like really sultry eyes. She's got like a pretty narrow, really narrow face. Not that long though, I think. Maybe like this. That's like a bird face, but and then I know she's like, oh, I think of her as having like some like rings and stuff. But that might have been from like just one game where it was like that. And oh no, she's got like I'm fucking loud, I'm getting excited. I think she's got this, something like that, going down like this. Maybe it goes the other way around, but that's okay. And then be sitting down, wings. I think that's nope. I think that's as close as I'm gonna get to Cinder in 1 minute. I feel like. Um, this. God, I don't know. And a Toriyama dragon. Oh god, that could be anything. That could be like. That could be like. Um. Uh. And then like tiny horns and like this sort of mouth, and then like tiny wings and things. That's oh no, I guess Toriyama Dragon. There'd be that, or maybe like either way, it'd be like a really fat, really short snout, really like large thing like this, and then it would be like the eyes could also be like this, and like every first edition Pokemon, every first gen Pokemon. That doesn't look like anything. Uh, yeah, little arms up here, more horns. And then yeah, I feel like Toriyama eyes are like often like just like this. Um, so but this is like a when I think of like a monster rancher or something, it's something like that. Anyway, I've gone over a minute. Otherwise, I would have loved to have done an actually good job, but couldn't do it. Sorry, time constraints. And so yeah, thanks everyone for being there in the thing. It's been great hanging out again. It's been a while. I try to make it a little more regular than it has been before. Oh, dang it! So many good questions for dragon types. Um, yeah, Toriyama's like someone was asking. It's like Dragon Ball Z and all that. Um, Combine them. Oh, I should have. I'll combine them now. If you've got like a minute, I guess I'll do that. So we've got a Cinder Eye. We've got Cinder Horns, but I feel like the pom pom shape is important. But then also that also lends itself to like the kind of fat Toriyama kind of face and the teeth, and then more Cinder Horns, but then like this, and then kind of goes around, and then it has the secret hidden body down underneath. Um, that looks horrendous. Okay, but oh, I think I also saw Queen of the Ice Wings. Oh yes, I should super do that next time. Snowfall's great. Um, he just looks like a nice wing. But anyway, I'll do that next time. But anyway, yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for being a Patreon. Thanks for all your awesome support. I've been a little bit down lately with sort of things kind of I'm feeling like I'm sort of dropping the ball in a lot of ways. So thanks for sticking around and not thinking maybe that like I sort of think maybe that's not the case as long as people kind of stick around. So yeah, anyway, thanks so much for being around. It's been great. Love drawing, love getting suggestions. I love people being on board with what I'm doing. So that's awesome. I will catch you guys next time. Keep those parents, keep those quit. What the heck happened to my brain? Keep those questions coming in the Discord or on Patreon to get them drawn, get them ahead of time for me to have a little list. So it makes things a little easier. Yeah, but if you think anyone's gonna like any of my comics, whatever, tell them about it. I noticed a few people did, which is why I suddenly had that thought. So thanks everyone spreading the word. That really means a lot as well. And I will catch you next time. How do I end this thing? There it is. Bye bye.